Anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KF5CDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs.
observing plan each month, then you can usually earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. And slide number 16, that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Cassiopeia the Queen. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words that I use on these sky objects. I also use the website constellation-guide.com for some information as well. Next week, the constellation of the week will be Andromeda, the princess that's involved in this whole story. And that's it for me. This is KF5JHA, back to Net Control, Billy. Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Always look forward to Constellation of the Week. All right, next up is space launches for this week. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Tom, KE5ITS. If you'll do a quick check-in round, see if there's anybody out there that would like to be checked in before you give us information about space launches for the week, that would be great. So to KE5ITS from KF5CBS.
This is This is WB50ZL, and this article is entitled Space Travel Can Adversely Impact Energy Production in a Cell. Studies of both mice and humans who have traveled into space reveal that critical parts of a cell's energy production machinery, the mitochondria, can be made dysfunctional due to changes in gravity, radiation exposure, and other factors, according to investigators at Georgetown Lombardi Comprehensive Cancer Center. These findings are part of an extensive research effort across many scientific disciplines to look at the health effects of travel into space. The research has implications for future space travel, as well as how metabolic changes due to space travel could inform medical science on Earth. The findings appeared November 25th, 2020 in Cell, and are part of a larger compendium of research into health aspects of space travel that appears concurrently in Cell, Cell Reports, Cell Systems, Patterns, and eyesight. My group's research efforts centered around muscle tissue from mice that were sent into space and were compared with analyses by other scientists who studied different mouse tissues, says Eva Gelia C. Lagus, PhD, and Associate Professor of Oncology at Georgetown. Although we each studied different tissue, we all came to the same conclusion that mitochondrial function was adversely impacted by space travel. In addition to studying the effects of space travel on cellular function, the scientists used a trove of data from decades of NASA human flight experiments to correlate their outcomes in animals with those from 59 astronauts. They were also able to access data derived from NASA's repository of biospecimens that had flown in space to do further comparisons. Data from NASA's twin study of Mark and Scott Kelly was particularly informative as it allowed for a comparison of the health effects seen in an astronaut's space. Scott was third found brother Mark, who is a retired astronaut, comparing their studies of mice with human data. By systems, a team of researchers were able to determine that space travel led to certain metabolic effects. Isolated cells are adversely impacted to a high degree than all organs. Changes in the liver were more noticeable than in other organs. Mitochondrial function was impacted. Because space travel almost always exposes people to higher levels of radiation than would be found on Earth, the scientists knew that such an exposure could harm mitochondria. This aspect of radiation exposure translates to health outcomes here on Earth for cancer patients who undergo radiotherapy. With this knowledge of radiation's impact on mitochondria, clinicians might tailor radiation therapy in different ways in the future to protect a normal tissue. The implications for travel to Mars are especially concerning, the researchers say, as that would involve a much longer time in space and hence lengthy exposure to radiation. The launch of SpaceX earlier this month was very exciting, says Laicus. From this and other planned ventures to the moon and eventually Mars, we hope to learn much more about the effects that space flight can have on metabolism and how to potentially mitigate adverse effects for future space travelers. Back to that, WB50ZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. That was very interesting. Next up is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. So at this time, I'll return that to Tom, KE5ICX. He'll give us information on visible satellite passages. KE5ICX from KSI PDF. programs participating on the air. So thank you to all who stepped in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to net@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5 PDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:24 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. So 7 to 3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And don't forget, following this net is the Afterglow movie net, where they'll be discussing River World. Take care, and 7 to 3, everybody.
Let me be net control again, Tom.
Bill, I'll let you take a break if you like. I don't mind doing it. It's probably my turn in barrel anyway.
Okay. I first read the books before they were all published. So this is like 41 years ago. Late 70s, 1980s, along in there. So I'll be here for the discussion in 5EB.
Alright, good deal, Bill. I never read the book, so this will be most interesting. I'm very curious to your comments. Alright, see you in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, the Wikipedia page for River World also lets you see a lot of the differences between this made-for-TV pilot, which is what this was. It was just a pilot, and the actual book. So they put a lot of things into the pilot that they were going to expand on if they'd gotten the funding to make the series. Anyway, it's IBP.
is K5A&E in Richardson, finally inside for once. Yes, I saw the movie.
Is it check-in time? This is N5BB, Bill and Irving. Yes, I saw the movie, and I read several of the books.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. I did not see the movie, but I have read the books.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto. I did see the movie.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Tango, Sarah Kilo, Burl. I did see the movie.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. I did see the movie.
Kilo Golf 5, Mike November, James, Oklahoma. I saw the movie. Golf 5, Bravo to the Whiskey K near Wedford on Echoing. I saw the film.
I originally saw ads and things like that for this movie a long time ago, and I never ended up seeing it. I somehow missed it and just forgot about it. And I remember it seemed to be pretty hyped up at the time, and I was really eager to see it. The ads that I saw looked really cool, and yeah, I understand it was like trying to be a series, and apparently that just completely exploded. And watching the movie, you can kind of see it. There's a lot of things that, you know, especially with it being this opener to some long-running series that they're trying to do, a lot of things that just don't really make a lot of sense, a lot of things that are never really explained. And I imagine the book series are probably really good. It sounds like, you know, especially this whole aspect of drawing from characters from history but putting them all up against each other, all on the same kind of level playing field, sounds really neat. And let me reset. So I also thought it was kind of interesting. We're reading up some of the differences between the book series and the movie on the movie's Wikipedia page. Didn't want to get any spoilers from the book series. That a big part of the beginning parts of the books, apparently, is people trying to connect between all these different time periods of characters. And I would have thought that would have been neat to have in the movie, but once again, that really only makes sense if you're actually going to have it as a series. I don't know. I almost feel like maybe this would have been better, plot-wise, if they had made this a mini-series of a few one-hour movies, mini-movies, and, have like a 3 or 4 part kind of thing. I really enjoy that kind of format, and I think that if they had done it that way, by slicing up the plot that way, you would have had it make a lot more sense and be a lot more enjoyable in the end as far as actually watching this. Because, it ultimately just kind of leaves you without really answering anything. So, and not every story needs to have an answer or a reason or a moral or anything like that. Sometimes the story can just be a story. You just have some interesting characters. And that's ultimately where this gets left. So, back to net. This is K5A&E.
Yes, this is Inside BB. Well, you got two separate things. You've got the plot of the original Riverworld series of books, which is published in the 1970s and early 80s. And I read most of the books back then. I think I read the first 3 books or something. I think there were a total of 4 or 5. There's one that was much later. But anyway, I read most of the books back then, which would have been 40 years ago. And then you've got the plot of this 2003 made-for-TV pilot. So, to expand on what Kane said, this was the pilot for what they hoped would be a series, but it wasn't picked up. So, Kane, it was going to be a series, but nobody funded it. So, as far as the plot goes, the big thing that just immediately stands out is that the protagonist is completely different. So, the original books have nothing to do with astronauts or anything. This jet tail guy. Instead, they had to do with a very interesting character. And so to me, they removed one of the big interesting characters that was in the book originally. That was the protagonist, the main protagonist. There were several, the main one, Richard Francis Burton. He died in 1890. He was the first person to travel all over the Arab world and other places in Africa. He was one of the first people to see some British people to see some of the lakes in Central Africa. He translated the Kama Sutra and Arabian Nights. He was a very dashing fellow long before Indiana Jones was considered. So he was a real character. I mean, if you read about him, you think, wow, this is a fictional character, but he was a real guy. And he's not in this made-for-TV movie, unfortunately. So they just missed a lot of the things. They did put in Samuel Clemens, who was in the original. They put in Nero, that was in the original. They put in Valdemar, who was, I don't remember him from the original, I don't believe, but he was a Danish king, Denmark, in the, like, 1150, along in there. So he was a real person. But I don't remember him from Riverworld. If he was in the original one, I don't remember it. Maybe he was in one of the books. So again, Alice Hargraves, if you didn't catch this, she was the Alice of Alice in Wonderland. And that was in the original book. The author was Philip Jose Farmer, who was an interesting fellow on his own regard. He was a rather wild science fiction author. There were several interesting science fiction personalities, and Philip Jose Farmer was one of them. Anyway, Alice Hargraves was Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Valdemar was this Danish king. Sam Clemens was, of course, Mark Twain. Nero and Flavius were real characters. And Monad was the dark character in the cape that came in to kind of help him. That you never really saw his face. So that was a character in the book called Monad, M-O-N-A-T. You'll notice that Jeff Hale had these dreams of what was going on at the pole, the big building night. But you never get to see any of that in this little short TV thing. So, what do I think about it? Well, and by the way, the year when everybody died on Earth, 2039 in this particular version of this. In the books, it was different dates. The earliest one was in the 1980s. A later one was in the early 2000s. This is a little fuzzy in the original books. I mean, how did you know? All you really knew was by meeting people and asking what was the last year they remembered. Another thing that's not obvious in this made-for-TV thing is that any of these characters, if they died, they were resurrected. So the books have a different whole nature to them. If somebody was in an area that was really in trouble, they just killed themselves, and they were resurrected somewhere else, kind of randomly in Riverworld. Also, it appears from this particular made-for-TV movie that there's an ocean there. No, the original story, there's this long, winding single river that is much wider than what you see here, like 25 miles wide in most places. So, anyway, they took a lot of liberties with this thing. They did produce the riverboat, but they took a lot of other liberties. I realized why they did that. They did that in order to make made-for-TV movie with fighting and all that kind of stuff. They also introduced some unnecessarily sexist kind of things in it. Molly, the black woman, you only saw one real kind of black person in this, kind of. And what did they have her do? Dancing, and they had her in a bare midriff kind of thing by the end of it. That was unnecessary for the plot line. They did it for the made-for-TV kind of aspect of it. So, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting little made-for-TV movie as that, but I think it really killed some of the really important things from the original story, and they aren't going to be able to develop those because they kind of killed off part of it. So I was kind of sad to see that. It's yet another science fiction book that was really screwed up when they made the made-for-TV movie version. That's my view of that. My personal feeling. In 5BB. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tom. Yes, the book series was, in a way, a very dangerous thing for an author to write, because the idea of this artificial world, it's very clearly artificially sculpted. There's this river valley that winds over it in this endless, small intestine-like maze. So you've got room for millions of miles of river valley as it just snakes all over the place. And everyone who ever lived, seemingly, plus some extra people, an occasional alien or strange individual, seems to have been resurrected here. They later learn there are some exceptions to that, but in general, it's quite a few people. And so there's this just enormous canvas. If you are an author and you want to have, Cardinal Richelieu have a fist fight with Robert Oppenheimer, well, you can, because they could have just been resurrected in the same place. And that is incredibly dangerous for an author or a painter or, heck, for that matter, an electrical engineer, because really, you can't have good art without constraints. If you tell the artist they can do anything they want, what you usually get is something that amuses the artist and they lose track of what they were doing and they wander off into the sunset and go have a beer. And in the books, that is to some extent what happened. It began in a very fascinating, what do we do with this magical world, all this discovery, and he didn't completely lose his grip on it, but it does become a bit less interesting as the series goes on, I think. He did eventually come up with a goal for everyone to pursue in trying to understand what the river world was for and why it worked the way it did. But it's a very big canvas and very hard to work with. And so I really would not have expected a made-for-TV movie to do well at all, because here you have something that you could have written 20,000 pages about if you'd wanted to, and yeah, they've got to have just the right amount of sex appeal to help sell advertising but not discourage the advertisers. They've got to have some fight scenes for, I guess, the 10-year-olds who like cowboy movies or something. They have to all boil it down to a formula calculator to sell the right number of ads in the right amount of time. So I wouldn't have expected much with such a vast canvas. How would you simplify it down in a way that would play well on television? It would have taken someone really brilliant, and this happens. I mean, sometimes you have this insanely long discursive story, like with The Lord of the Rings, that the Peter Jackson movies did a great job of. Oh boy, you condense those endless books down to just 6 hours. Every now and then you get somebody really good, but often you don't. So I'm not surprised they didn't find that. I guess I'll just be listening for the rest of the net, but thank you for the chance to speak. NT5TM.
WB50ZL. I didn't hate the movie, but I really had some problems. if they can't tell me what's going on, then it irritates me. And I had that feeling a lot. That they would tell you something and they never explain why. Like, how come there was only one child? Did other dead children just out of luck, they didn't get to come be resurrected? For all the babies, they never explained that. Never explained why the child was mute. And or what these overlords in the robes were all about. You know, then I realized that, you know, that it is a pilot as opposed to a movie, so they were taking the kind of liberties of, yeah, well, we're going to explain that later, but it's going to keep you watching so you can figure out what's going on. I never read any of the books that I can recall. Of course, it was a long time ago, but during that era, I just read science fiction voraciously. I just don't remember him. He was kind of a big deal at the time. His first book won a Hugo Award, and I remember a lot of talk about him. I just don't actually recall this reading the books. And I think this show was another one of those cases where everybody goes, oh, love those books, let's make a movie. And then it's not quite the same. You can't go home again. So, you know, it just kind of seemed like a pointless existence. You know, we're going to roam around and not do much of anything. And a lot of gratuitous skin, gratuitous fighting. And I just thought it was too much unnecessary violence for my taste. It didn't move the story along a whole lot. But and the plot wasn't all that hard to understand except for the gaps, and that's what I didn't like. Okay, back to that. WB50ZL.
TSK. I don't think there was really a plot there. I think this was, you know, just a lot of action, moving things around. You know, I could understand that, you know, I think the initial consensus was that we all died, but yet we still bleed and we still die again. One of the biggest mysteries was these, you know, cloaked figures that, you know, they poke hell out of this pod and, you know, he's locked up and, you know, the cloaked figure frees and they show it at different times in the movie. And I'm, you know, it's like, what was their purpose? Were they, you know, studying humans kind of like in a zoo? Let's, you know, put them in this place and we'll just see what happens. You know, so many things that seem to be out of place. You know, they built a mechanical motor that works on cold fusion. It's like, you know, all the gears and, you know, producing steam and all these things. It's like, and it was, you know, really a lot of, why not just build a rich riverboat? You know, these canisters, you know, it's like, you know, you get clothing, you can plug them in, you can eat, and all of a sudden you didn't see the machines that you could plug them in to get something to eat. I just wonder why that went away. Well, like I say, it wasn't much of a plot. It's like, there were so many holes that, who would expect to become a TV series? KF5TS came back to that.
I think it's been very well said so far. Obviously, this really wasn't a movie. It was a pilot. And no, I didn't read the books either. And I was tempted to go out and look for the Cliff Notes. Then I thought, no, I want to watch this not knowing anything about it, hoping that that I wouldn't be spoiled by already knowing the story and be disappointed by that. But unfortunately, by not knowing anything about it, I was also very confused by this. Yeah, it seemed like a show that would have been made maybe more in the 80s. Kind of feel to it, because within a few seconds they're fighting each other at the very beginning, and it's just kind of the normal basic story. You got the bad guy instantly, and then you get the good guy that's going to save everybody. So it wasn't really original. The most interesting part was the part that we never learned anything about, just like everybody pointed out. We don't know why they're there. We don't know whether these are aliens or beings that are working with them. And for some reason they need them to complete a task, apparently of some kind. And if they don't, it sounds like there's some kind of doom that will happen. So yeah, I felt very, lost at the end. Just disappointed that you really didn't learn anything throughout this movie. But obviously, like everybody said, this was really meant to be a pilot. And I think it could have been potentially an interesting series if it had been done a little better. Sci-fi has been a little hit or miss with their shows. They've had a few successes, but a lot of them have kind of gone like this. But there's just a lot of potholes because of that, just being a pilot. And then the comment that the last gentleman made about the steam and the technology, that seemed a little off too. He had this advanced, obviously alien that had a spacecraft, and the best he could do was create steam. Seemed a little bit odd, but anyway, I won't just keep rambling on. Back to the net. This is KB9SOK.
All right, very good, Sean. Thank you. And next up is James, KG5PMN. He is over in Oklahoma, near the border. James, you watched it. What did you think about the plot for Riverworld from 2007? This is KE5ICX.
This Kilo Go 5 Mike November. The plot, I guess since I hadn't had a previous history to the movie, the plot had me kind of lost. They came out of the water, they started getting stuff going on land, and then kind of like all the good westerns and everything else in the movie world, they meet the bad landlord, and he kind of takes them prisoner and starts to do things to them, and then one of the prisoners actually fights him back and defeats him, but he doesn't turn out to be very good either, and then the good guy wins in the end. So, without a history, I kind of, listening to everybody talk about it, it kind of reminds me of Stephen King's Christine, Book of Christine, and the movie. Read the book long before I read the movie, and the movie wasn't very good, but then I also kind of realized the way he had written the book and the way they had to make the movie, they couldn't really reverse the cars through the reversal of the car's damage when it got broken, couldn't reverse the damage in the same timely manner as the book did, so they had to kind of combine several scenes in the movie to make up for several issues in the book. Or one issue in the book, they had to make one scene out of the movie for several things in the book at the same time. Send it back to the net, KG5PM in.
Very good. Thank you, James. Next up is Jay in your Webster KG5BZW. Your thoughts on a plot for Riverworld 2003 from KG5A6.
Alright, this is KG5BZW. Yeah, the plot, it was a mess. I was actually kind of surprised. I did not know this was a book series that they were grabbing from, sourcing from. But of course, because it's a book series and the beginning, it seems that the books were already got really open-ended. They probably... Hold on, let me do something here. Okay, it seems that they could have used some sort of plot device, like I don't know, some what to say here? They needed some grounding, and I was just reminded through all the guys' comments over here of how I read an article about a guy that effectively invented the captain's log for Star Trek. And I was just kind of thinking, well, I mean, you can have all kinds of crazy things with a narrator, and sometimes that's not exactly a good thing, but the captain's log in Star Trek actually works well enough so that at the beginning of the episode, you know kind of like what's going on and all of that. I'm wondering if something like that could have helped here, because, gosh, it was just all over, and there just seemed from one thing to another and a lot was not explained. A lot of stuff that you kind of would like to know about. Some of it, like I like the at the very beginning where okay, so we've got all these people here. I actually think that the first few scenes were actually kind of cool and different, and I really liked the premise. And I was going to say, man, they could have really used something like with this, and they just kind of blew it. And well, now that I heard it was a book series, it's like, oh well, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Wow. Clearly, I don't think they, from what y'all described, I don't think they could have really, they kind of, it's funny, they find them, what am I trying to say? Actually, hold on, let me reset because I'm kind of grappling on and on. Okay, so maybe I won't time it out. It would have been nice to have had a real central, I mean, they tried to create a central character apparently, to bind things, story elements to. It just wasn't central enough. This new character, I can see why they did that now. It just, it needed to be more, it it kind of seems to suffer, the whole movie seems to suffer from what eventually apparently happened to the book series. It's like, okay, what are these guys doing? Where are they going? That's why I was going back to the captain's log, because there's that grounding where say, okay, now we have this plot device where, okay, this is how the captain remembers it, and blah blah blah, and it's kind of anyway. I don't know if I'm explaining it that well. The reason I even brought that up is, like, I think the guy that I'm sleepy here, so I may have already just said this, but like the guy that created the plot device had just recently died. I think I just said that already. Anyway, so yeah, it was very intriguing. I was like, man, to sum up, I thought, man, this could have been developed to do stuff, but turns out it was, which was actually some kind of surprising, but not really. But it really wasn't developed well here. So that's all I got. Yeah. KG5 BCW, back to that.
Whiskey Tango Niner Victor, Michael in Plano. I saw it a very long time ago, and did my best to forget it because I was very disappointed in it at that point, and now I'm going to have to forget it again, thanks to you, Tom. Or actually, I think it was Brenda's fault. 59 feet. Do with this floor. Now you're going to expect me to sweep it up afterwards, aren't you? I know how you are. See, the problem I had is that I read Riverworld, and I read Fabulous, To Your Scattered Bodies Go, which was the first one, and then the Fabulous Riverboat was the second one, and they tried to cram 2 novels worth of stuff into 90 minutes, and it's just not going to work. It's not going to make sense. It's not going to be worthwhile. No, don't do that. But they did it anyway, and because of that, there are so many holes in the whole thing that none of it makes much sense. And so they just kind of crammed things in there and said, yeah, people will be happy enough with it. But I wasn't. And then the fact that it stopped and just kind of like, we're going to go do other things. And then they never did. It's just a lot of disappointment is what I say about this. I mean, the books were good. They're worth reading. But this wasn't. That's really all I have to say. WT90.
Well, thank you, Michael, and you did okay. I mean, there's not a lot to make comments on just a certain degree. All right, my English story. No, you can't tell a story. I don't know. Why don't you just get a damn space station, stick it in orbit, and send them up there and solve a crime? I'm shaking my fist. All right, I'm going to the top of the list. Now, everybody, be ready. Here it is. Characterization. This should be a good one. The Slayer of Dragons and characters. K5ANE. Your thoughts on characterization?
Well, this definitely ties into the same concept as the lack of plot. We have quite a smorgasbord of characters here with lots of interesting backstories and some of them, being historical figures of interest. It sets itself up for a lot of potential growth and then doesn't actually do any of the real growth for most of these characters, I'd really like to know more about this weird alien creature that, they're hanging out with. It also just seems kind of strange to me that, that one guy is the only alien creature that gets resurrected on this planet. There's so many questions, even not necessarily just the related to this, the plot, but just the characters themselves. And in the end, it leaves the same kind of unfulfilling kind of feeling at the end, and just really makes you wish that you could see more of these characters and get more backstory on them and understanding what's going on, like the little girl, right? It's the little girl. It's so strange to me that that they just made a point, and they really made a point to throw out this idea that this little girl is really special, and it's very important that you understand that she is the only person that was resurrected as a little girl, and then that's that. That's all there is about her, really, except for the fact that she's a prop piece that comes up over and over again, to show the loving, caring family aspect of the good guys. But other than that, they make a point to draw her out and to show, like, ooh, this is an important person. You got to watch this person, as they do absolutely nothing for the plot. And there's a number of characters that are kind of like that, and that you wish you could find out more about the character. And once again, I realized if this was an actual series, then you would have gotten it. But hey, that's what you get when you gamble, and you end up trying to have it be a series as this pilot of a movie of a pilot, and it never ends up coming out. So that's that. This is K5ANE, back to net.
Thank you, Keith. Next up is Bill, N5BB. Tell us about the plot, or not the plot, tell us about characterization from the 2003 sci-fi Riverworld, K5I6.
This isn't I do agree with the other comments, but before I go on, because some people are going to start dropping off, and so many people are so confused about things where they were not told, let me tell you what the books said happened, okay? This is going back if you had read the books. So, if you had read the books, again, it's not the movie, but it's the book when the movie was cut out of. The ethicals were these people who created the river world, and that was one of the ethicals was the character in the black hood, and they had this building that was not silver, but supposed to be a big black building up at the North Pole, which you see in these flashbacks from Hale, the astronaut. You see these flashbacks where he had some kind of flashback to it for some reason, which isn't told to us here, because this isn't the original story. Anyway, so the whole idea was, why did the ethicals do this? They did this as an ethical thing, and it was the people who were able to get through all the way to the end of the river and all these encounters and do this in a good moral way, their souls, they have another name for it, but for one of a better term, their souls would be allowed to continue in ways, and otherwise, the ones that were not deemed moral enough, their souls would kind of dissipate and wander the universe or something. That was the original kind of idea. It was a moral test. And these aliens had been monitoring Earth for on the order of 100,000 years. And so they had a whole lot of souls they had collected. So they had essentially had a way of recording essentially your life and your memories and all that kind of stuff. And the whole idea was if you were under the age of 5, you were not resurrected under River World. You were resurrected into a garden world that was like a Garden of the Eden, just for these young kids that had died before the age of 5. If you died between the age of 5 and 25, I think it was 25, then you would be resurrected at the age in which you died. So if you died at age 12, you'd be resurrected as a 12-year-old, and your resurrected body would, by the way, all the resurrected bodies had no disease and no infirmities. If you had lost a limb, it was regenerated before you were recreated. But when you were resurrected at age 12, you would then age until the age of 25, but then you would never age after that. So if you died after the age of 25, you were resurrected with your body at age 25, but with your memories of your whole life. So the whole idea was, after 20 years, everybody was age 25. Every single person on Riverworld was age 25. And if they died, they were resurrected. If they didn't die but were severely injured, let's say if you lost your arm, it was regrown. It was regenerated. Or if you were blinded. If you were completely killed, you were resurrected at a different location on Riverworld. And as Tony said, it was this long, winding river. Not an ocean, which it appeared on there. Anyway. And the things where you got your food was called the Grail, because there was no farming on there, no animals. So the only way you could get food is through these Grail machines that you saw. So I just want to let you know what went on there, so you know the whole idea, the whole thing. Now, real quickly, with regards to the characters, Jeff Hale was the hero. What can I say? He's an astronaut. He saves everybody multiple times. He's indestructible, it seems. He's unbelievable. Nero is the anti-hero. He's horrible. He's indestructible nearly until the end. He's very, 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 very bad. What would you expect from somebody named Nero? Sam Clemens is kind of crafty. In the book, he's actually really crafty. But he's kind of he's kind of a scallywag. Alice Hargreaves from Alice in Wonderland, the little girl that was she was the source of that name. She was a real person, Alice Hargreaves. Anyway, she was sweet and pure, and what can you say? Molly, the black woman, was, I agree with, who was it, Brenda or somebody? She was, you know, unnecessarily sexualized and dancing in a skimpy way. That was crazy. Lear was in a, I don't know. So they went through, they had so many of these characters to go through, they couldn't go too deep. In the book, they can go a lot deeper. The people can talk about all these memories of their multiple wives and husbands and kids and all kinds of things. They can't do this in a made-for-TV movie. So, you know, what they were really trying to do is to make a series of things, and this was the pilot. Because they didn't make the rest of them, you didn't get to see all the interesting stories. All you got to see was the setup. So it was kind of doomed for failure. I think it probably confused people, and there wasn't enough interest in it to continue it. So anyway, enough talking. N5BB, back to you.
Okay, Bill, thank you. Thank you for your comments and some detailed stuff there. I really enjoyed that. Okay, next would be Tony, but he says he's going to be listening. So NT5TM, just remember, if you want to make any comments, if somebody says something horrible or incorrect or otherwise needs discipline or correcting or both, well, correctional discipline, but you can do that by saying, right, I disagree. So I'll go down to Brenda and Tony at any time. You can break in. WD50ZL, Miss Brenda, your comments on characterization from G586.
This is WB50ZL. Well, it looked like there was a lot of potential with the characters. They were mostly attractive and potentially interesting, and they just never went anywhere. And the relationships between them, I think, were mostly kind of superficial, and the character development was, they were just cardboard people. They just didn't go anywhere with their motivations and their relationships. And so it was pretty unsatisfying to me. It's an interesting concept, these people that we know so well, like Samuel Clemens and Alice Liddell. It could have been so much more than what they did. I mean, they didn't even sort of tell you till the end who they were, and it's like, okay, what do I do with this information now? It's just no help. And they could have done a lot with that throughout the story, and I guess they would have had they made the miniseries. I think if I was there, I'd be a whole lot more curious about what was going on, or trying to figure things out, or figure out, we're going to build a new world here. What do we do? Who knows how to smelt metal? Who knows how to grow food? You'd want to think about the future and not just sit around. A lot of people are just sitting around in these little wooden cages, and other people are just sitting around not doing much of anything. It just doesn't seem like a real viable society. You'd want to learn things and get things, build cities, I think. That's humans' natural inclination. But the most technical people on the planet are going to build a riverboat and just go up and down the river and like they're on vacation. Okay, back to that, WB50ZL.
Characterizations for Riverworld 2003.
TF5 TSK. Well, I would say the character I was most impressed with was, hero that he kind of explained who he was and where he was from, and he really showed a lot of, intense emotions and, I guess what you might expect from a warrior. Jeff Hale, he was a hero, but it seemed like he was kind of dull. The little girl, she can't speak. And I noticed on one of the marquees that they've got, the alien and Samuel Clemens and Jeff Hale. And I was wondering, if it was almost like Hero was just a minor character, just dropped in, but seemed like he had his almost as many lines as Jeff Hale. Another thing that's very unusual is, the riverboat was painted. I mean, it was, I guess what it would be if it was a riverboat. It's like, wonder how did they get paint, but couldn't do anything else. TF5 TSK back to net.
It's pretty well been covered. I know I said that a lot, but it's true. There wasn't rain by original here. And part of it is, lack of time. The hero was once again, this seems to remind me of a show like I've seen back in the 80s on TV. And someone said that, probably if I was 11 or 12, 13 years old, I probably would have enjoyed this much more. But the characters were very much one-dimensional. Obviously the hero, and with Bill's explanation, that does help a lot. I do see now a little bit maybe where they were going. Obviously the hero was trying not to hurt anybody or kill anybody, so he absolutely had no other choice. So obviously, morally, he did everything he could to protect people until he had no other choice but to take out the bad guy. So that makes a little bit more sense now on that part. Thanks, Bill. As far as, the little girl, I mean, how many times have we seen that in TV shows where you have a child that can't speak because of some dramatic event in their life, and then eventually they become comfortable and some emergency comes up and they can speak? I'm guessing that would have happened as this series continued. At some point, the little girl would have spoke. We had our typical start of maybe a romance between the hero and the girl that didn't really go anywhere. Bad guy was just your typical guy that was just totally insane. Just wanted power. Not a whole lot to him either. And then, maybe some of the other characters from history would have probably been interesting had it continued. They just didn't really get very depth into characters at all, and maybe you couldn't in this situation. But like you said, they could have probably done this much better, more like you mentioned earlier, the Babylon series. Had they just started out with something simple to just explain things and get you into it, that there's a good chance maybe this would have gotten picked up. And also, just as a side note here, it seemed like there might be a theme here. Last week we had the people being rebirthed through pods, and this week we got people who are being rebirthed through pods. So that was kind of funny. Anyway, that's about all I got. Back to net. This is KB9SOK.
Well, very good, John. And remember, the last two movies we watched was, we watched The Warriors and we watched These Are the Body Snatchers. Those two movies were made in 1978. So, common age. Who knows? All right, next up is
is that me?
Well, it's KG5P down ahead. I think James over in Oklahoma somewhere. James, what's next? From KG5I6.
This is KG5BMN. I kind of agree with Brenda's assertion that characters are rather shallow and kind of one-dimensional. I guess my favorite character was just about the alien character from wherever he came from, and he kind of seemed to be the only one that kind of, to me, really knew what anything that was going on around there. I guess the heroes always did his part, and the villains did their part, but I don't know, I guess with the way that pilot was set up, you know, you just really couldn't get much into the characters. Back to the net, KG5BMN.
Okie dokie, James, thanks. And next up, KG5B7WJ, your Weatherford. Your comments on characterization for Riverworld from 2003, the sci-fi pilot movie thing. That's a good name from KG5I6.
This is KG5BZW. And you know, I hadn't really thought about it until just now, but there's just because it's not like nothing happened, but it feels like nothing happened. I know I'm going back to the plot, but the problem is with these characters is there are a lot of interesting characters. There really are. But they don't really. There's like it's been said, they're kind of one-dimensional in the storyline, and I'm just thinking that there's so many ways they could have interacted. That would be interesting. I'm thinking of, like, you know, what did they use in the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? I think the character development there, in terms of having characters act against other characters in history, is a lot better than what happened here. Which, I mean, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it's a decent film. It's a, you know, it's light. It's good. It's not, you know, it's, I wouldn't call it excellent, but it's good. But here is, you just get these characters that are, okay, some of them, they got this interesting backstory, and nothing really happens from it. So, there's two ways you can look at the characters. There's, I guess, the characters from history, which they kind of steal, and the characters as how they interact with the story. And the characters as how they interact with the story is very simple, which wouldn't be bad, again, if there's been enough balance to it. Or, you know, you take your murder mystery, or, well, I don't know, I can go there because I've only seen, yes, I've only seen a few Babylon 5 episodes, but anyway, I didn't have cable back then, so I couldn't, anyway, I'm getting off course here, but it just needs to, you know, strip away what the characters are from history. And you've got the bad guy, you've got the clever guy, you've got the good guy, and they're acting very predictably. So it's there's not much going on here. Yeah, they could have swapped the last of these characters out and with different characters, and still would have been the same, and still would have been really just boring, just simple. I don't know. Just really is not, the characters just really aren't being developed as characters. There's I feel like I'm rehashing and repeating everybody else with that, but it's just that simple. It's, anyway, I think that's all I have to say on characters. KG5PGW.
Well, you know, I know this is where you're like expecting me to come up with something intelligent and snappy and novel and groundbreaking, only I ain't got it. Kane did a really good job at the very beginning. Bill put me to sleep talking about things that weren't the movie, and then I just now woke up. But it's a perfect example to me of Hollywood looking at something that is really good and going, we can make this better. Only they don't. In so many cases, they just cram things in, and instead of making a good pilot that was well fleshed out, that had a good story. Well, if they had a good story, if they hadn't messed it up, you know. But if they just tried to take what was already there and bring that story to the screen, we might have had more than just one. But they didn't, and we didn't, and so I don't have anything really to say other than bleh about all the characters. 79V.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, towards the bottom of the list, I'm going to ask any additional, anyone else would like to check in, maybe your final chance. Please come out with your call sign name. And did you see Riverworld from 2003? You don't have to have seen it to check in. In fact, it may be a benefit. Please come out.
November 5 Sierra Quebec Alpha. This is my standard no content check-in. No, I didn't see it. Sometimes I listen to you guys. Carry on. N5SQA.
Kilo India 5, Gulf Romeo Hotel, Melissa in Dallas. I didn't see it.
Alright, so the workers are out there, and that's fine by me. N5SQA or on, not that you didn't see it. And yeah, if I QRH Melissa in Dallas, she didn't see it either.
5BB.
OZL.
5BB.
Okie dokie, I got N5BB and WB5OZL. You two have the final word, so we'll start with Bill. Go right ahead. Anything you want. Say now. From GE5I6.
Okay, calm down, Tom. This is N5BB. Just for your info, the original source of the plot line, the original story that caused it all, was a novel by Philip Jose Farmer called O for the Flesh, O-W-E for the Flesh. And it was a single novel with a different name protagonist that found the tower at the end of the river, and it was written in the 1950s. In the mid-50s, he entered it in a science fiction novel contest. He won the contest, but he received no money, and the book was never published.
W5FC.
He lost the original form of that story. It was never published. He revised and worked on the story into a book called River of Eternity. But it also remained unpublished, and then they thought they lost it. 20 years later, it was found in somebody's garage, and they actually published that original story, River of Eternity. So it was an earlier version of the story. So, you know, in other science fiction authors, as I think as Brenda said, the first couple of books were okay, but when it got down later in it, you kind of got lost. And that was the problem. Farmer came up with this amazing idea. What if you could write some books with any character in history, and they could interact randomly, perhaps, with any other character in history? I mean, this is better than time travel. They're 25 years old, they're healthy, et cetera, et cetera. What a deal. They're all together in the same place. They've got their own, the food is automatic. They don't have to find their own food. They get it automatically. But they can interact. They can discuss things. They can argue. They can fight. They can love. They can hate. So it was a really interesting story idea. The problem is getting it fleshed out in some reasonable fashion. And it took him like 5 books, and it's just too much. So he had a hard time doing it. Farmer did. And the people trying to do this made-for-TV thing, it was too much to bite, too much to chew. You know, what they could have done, maybe, is hit some little snippets from different times. And remember, the people don't age. They're always 25 years old. So they wouldn't even have to use special effects or makeup to make it look like the actors were older. You know, they could show it 50 years later. So, Tom, you talked about the boat. Well, they could take decades to build the boat. The people all look the same age. They're just there. They have nowhere else to go. Anyway, that's all I got. Good evening. N5BB.
Good, Bill. Thanks. Good capper on that one. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda, come on and save this nosedive.
Push forward on the stick. I was going to say some things Bill said, that you've got this amazing opportunity for all these incredible characters from history that, you know, as soon as you play the game at my fantasy dinner party, and you might pick Mark Twain because he's interesting. Some of the most interesting people world here in your little group, and they and they don't know each other. And an alien, if I were there, I would follow that alien around and go, what's your culture like? What do you eat? What's your planet like? What's your science? I would pick his brain because he would be the most fascinating person I'd ever met in my life. But no, they just wander around and do nothing. All right, I'm done. WV50ZL.
Okay, Miss Brenda, I agree with you. Hold on, my computer is trying to slowly come up with, hang on here. I gotta tell you what next week's movie is, and I can't remember what it is, so let's see here if I can find out. Alright, here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? You like it like this, it's an old disco song. Next week's movie is, it has 2 stars. It has Tom Selleck, and it has Tom Selleck's mustache. It's the science fiction movie called Runaway from 1984. Runaway from 1984. If you would like additional information on this, you can send an email to KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, at yahoo.com and say, I'd like to be added to the movie list. And I will send you not only what the movie will be next week, but also a link whenever possible for the film. This one is available free with ads. So do that. Or join the Facebook Afterglow movie group, which is Afterglow Movie, 2 words, Afterglow, and then the word movie. And say, I'd like to join. That would be great. And then I got another one for you. I'm giving you what might be a really interesting film the week after that, December 12th, Automata, which has Antonio Banderas not singing, but an insurance salesman in the future. You'll find that one fascinating too. And with that, I'm going to say bye-bye and bye-bonds to everyone. Thank you, everybody, for participating. This is KE5ICX, and I am clear.
My golly, Tom, Runaway was written and directed by Michael Crichton. Besides Tom Selleck, it stars Gene Simmons and Kirstie Alley. Wow! This is the weirdest movie I've never heard of. See you next week inside TV.
And music by Jerry Goldsmith. This is WV50ZL.
Ooh, I didn't notice that. Wow!
Alright, they're wrenching this videotape away from Brenda and said, I found this!
Yes, I suggested this movie.
Ooh, Gene Simmons is a sociopathic genius. Oh man, just looking at a little bit of the plot is crazy. Okay, I'm really surprised I've never heard of this before. Maybe it's a really crummy movie. We'll find out. Looks like it had a budget of $8 million and made $6.7 million. Uh-oh. Inside BB.
Let's just go ahead and watch it now. I must have seen it, given it was 84. This is what we would have taken the kids to see, and they would have loved it. But I don't actually remember it offhand. WB50ZL.
I hope Tom has a free source where we can view it. N5BB. Clear for now.
W5SC.
Well, zombies don't remember all that well anyway. They got bad memories. There's not much in the way of brain cells left. N5BB.